What's going on YouTube? Watsim here again with another Forza tuning video. And today I have a car at the request of one of you out there, a Mr. Joseph Blash. If I've pronounced that incorrectly, I do apologise, Joseph. But he requested that, as you can see, that I try and tune the AMC Rebel the Machine, as it's called in the game. Not quite sure why it's called that. I'm assuming people who know about these things know why it's called that. Maybe it was like, you know, a wonderful car for the age, but whatever. It's new to me. And I'm not going to lie, I found this car a little bit of a challenge. It's not very easy to tune, in my opinion. It's not really got the power in the engine to make it great around power tracks. And in terms of a handling car, it's okay. I've made it into a handling car. I made it into a short, sharp little sort of nipper around those short, tight handling tracks, but it's not the best. But it's all right. You can. I think you'll really do well with it in hoppers against like decent people. Obviously, people who have got really like tuned cars, those sort of tracks, you may struggle. But I haven't seen this car used, I think, at all in any lobby I've ever been in. I've done over 1,000 races now, and I haven't seen it once. So it kind of tells you that it's not the most popular car to tune, it's not the easiest to tune, but I've had a go. I think I've done an okay job of it, but let's see what I did and find out and see what you think of it. So starting out, let's look at the engine. I left it standard. I don't like the 7 litre Hemi, V8 Hemi. I hate that engine. I can't get on with it. And then you're just left with the 5.9 litre NASCAR V8 engine, and that's just kind of, you know, that's those extreme cases where you want to make an amazing oval car maybe, but no, so I had to stick with the standard one. Not quite sure what it is. I've actually researched into what the actual standard engine is, but I'm assuming it's some sort of V8. It sounds like it anyway. I did, however, put a twin turbo on this thing because standard natural aspiration on this just didn't pack enough punch. It was too slow, just far too slow. I was testing it on Road Atlanta full, and down the back straight there I usually look to see if a car can get up to around about 165 minimum, and this thing was getting to like 158, 159, and I didn't have any air on it at that point, so there was not much drag or anything, and it just didn't have enough power. So as I say, this thing isn't a great car for power tunes, it's not a great car for power tracks, should I say, but I've done what I can with it. I feel like I've got to keep justifying this. Aero. We do have aero on it now. I decided that aero probably was the best way to go. Even though without aero it actually handles alright. It's pretty good. But to make it a full handling car you need the aero. So we've got aero on the front, we've got aero on the back, and of course I've not got anything on the bonnet or the hood. Because yeah, like I say, I'm on first person and that shit just gets in the way. Okay, tyres. We've obviously got full racing tyres because yeah, I probably could experiment with putting sport compound on this to try and get a bit more power into it perhaps, but I still don't think that would really give it enough. I mean, that's only going to save me 20 PI. I don't think that's really going to be enough to make it into a decent power track car, so just race tyres really. And we've got as wide as we can on the front, so that's 275, and of course what do we can on the rear, 315. So plenty of rubber on the ground. Sorry. Wheels, we've got not the lightest, but I think these are the second lightest. I think they are. I might be wrong with that, but I think these are. They're around that anyway. They're not as light as you can get, which are these ones, but they're slightly off it because I just had to find the PI balance really. And they have been made slightly wider, so we've got what 3 up from the minimum. That's on both front and rear, giving us more stability through the corners basically and a decent amount of grip. We have a stock clutch, of course, racing transmission, stock driveline. Probably could, oh yeah, look at that, let's make a little edit here, there we go, street driveline. There we go, editing on the job. And we've got a race diff, of course. We have race brakes, race suspension, race front anti-roll bars, and race rear anti-roll bars, controversially. We have a roll cage, and of course all the weight has been taken out. So as usual, All of this is on. Now, engine-wise, we have a stock intake, stock air filter, stock carburetor, stock ignition, race exhaust, race camshafts, race valves, race engine block, race pistons, street twin turbos, that's just the first stage twin turbo, no intercooler, stock oil and cooling, and a stock flywheel. Now let's have a look at the numbers. So race tyres 27.5. As I always say, 27 or 27.5 is where you want to be, because that's where you're going to get the ideal tyre pressure when the tyres are finally warmed up. You're going to be aiming for around 32 psi. The gearing is set to that. I think I had a little play around with this. I'm not sure. That may be standard. I think I had a little play around with it though, just to try and get somewhere in the power range, try and get the maximum out of it. I'm sure it can be improved by someone who really knows what they're doing. This isn't my forte at all. I'm just more about the handling. The engine's kind of still a work in progress for me, but that's where I got it to at the minute. By all means, if someone can do much better with it, all power to you. Go for it. Camber. Now we've got quite a lot of camber on this because it is a full handling tune. You need the most amount of grip through the corners you possibly can, so that means a lot of camber. So we've got both front and rear at minus 2.4. Now, as I say, that gives you, if you read the little description on the side there, it tells you the more negative camber you put on, the more grip you will get through a corner, but the less grip you will have in a straight line. So basically, your tyres, your wheels are angled at a certain point where they are going to get maximum grip through the corners via turning, but then when you're up straight and going in a straight line, they're not going to be that great, and you will get increased tyre wear in a straight line. But this is very pliable to a handling tune. You don't really want to do this with just a normal tune, like an all-round tune, in my opinion, because it's not going to be so advantageous around real power tracks. You're not going to have that grip off the line, that grip out of a corner straight away. But through a corner, brilliant. I have no toe on neither the front or rear. I had my usual tiny bit on the rear, but I found that the car just really wasn't responsive enough. It wasn't giving me what I wanted. It was hanging back too much. It felt like the rear was slightly detached. I didn't like it, so I just took it off, and now it feels much better. It feels more responsive. It just feels great, really. And the caster's set to 5.9. Anti-roll bars, I've got 18.29 on the front and 18.66. Now you can play with these a lot. I found on this, I've tried several different settings. This at the moment is where I'm settled at. It's got the right balance between this and my current rebound settings. They're working well together, but I'm sure you can do what you want with that to a point, as long as you've got the right balance between the two. I find that little ratio between the two, but sort of similar, but slightly more on the rear, it's worked really well. It just allows the front to react a lot quicker. It feels like feels like the front dips into a corner much better, and you get much more responsiveness, whilst the rear still maintains its stability and gives you that grip and handling that you need. Springs, usual calculation, so that's the weight of the car times whatever the weight bias is, divide that by 2. 0. Whatever the weight bias is, divide that by 2. So in this case it would be whatever the weight is times, I think this has got 53% front bias, so it'd be the weight times 0.53, divide that by 2, and that will give you a number around 808.6, and then you just do the remaining weight bias for the rear, so it'd be the weight times 0.47, divide that by 2, and that will give you a number very close to 717.1. Ride height, not quite the minimum, just one above it on both. That's where I am now. That's what I like. I did experiment this with a little bit more on the front than the rear, but then I found that the front was a bit too washy. It wasn't really giving me what I wanted, so I just went back to what I usually do. Rebound, we've got set to 9.5 and 9.2. That's quite high, but with the springs, with the anti-roll bars being a slightly softer than I usually have it, you need to, in my opinion, compensate that with having the rebound a little bit stiffer. It just gives the car that extra responsiveness. It feels like it's stable. It's not too much body roll. It just works really well. And the bump is set to 4.8 and 3.8. Now again, that's kind of up in the air. That's where I'm at right now with it. That's probably something I can change a bit. I found that having the bump too high and too close to, sorry, having the rear bump too high and too close to the front was giving the rear a bit too much license to slide. I just didn't like that. It was just not what I wanted at all. So I found that having that ratio between them, having 1.0 between them, has really helped the car maintain its stability, and it just works better. That's all I can really say about it, really. Downforce I got set to 80 and 150. Again, this I found to be a bit of a puzzle, because I don't like putting full downforce on, because I feel that just kind of overpowers all the other things I'm doing to the car. So you know, if I'm changing the springs or I'm changing the anti-roll bars, if you just put in full downforce on it, that is so overpowering, you can't really feel the effect, in my opinion, of what you're doing elsewhere on the car. So I've settled at this. I did have it much lower. I think I had it around sort of here and around there, and that worked well as well. But at that point I was kind of looking at an all-round tune, not just for a handling tune. So as soon as I committed to the handling tune, I just stuck it straight back up to where that just needed to work for me. I can't really say any more, really. I mean, you might want it a bit higher than that, by all means go for it. I found, however, that the higher I did go, particularly on the front, I found it was understeering quite a lot, like an incredible amount, and I didn't like that at all. So that's the happy medium that I found. Maybe you'll find something better. My brakes I set to my pretty much standard on most of my cars, 48% balance and 85% pressure. That's what I do for rear wheel drive cars. And my diff is slightly different to usual, it's 71% and 77%. I was experimenting actually with a lower diff, just because it makes shifting down easier from higher revs and stuff. But I don't know, I'm so used to where it is now. I just like it. I mean, it might not work for a lot of people out there. Like I've had a few people give me feedback on this saying that they lose control on the downshift sometimes, and I can understand that. If you're shifting down from high revs without giving it enough braking, without slowing the car down enough, you are going to spin out with this sort of setup. But for me, I don't know why, the car just seems to be a much more stable beast when I've got it that high. Like when I've got the downshifts through the corners, it just seems to stick in, and I can just hold the line better. So that's where I leave it. But you know, like I say, some people have a problem with it. So if you do, just lower it slightly. Lower it around, you know, like 40, 35, something like that. It'll work perfectly fine for you. You'll be able to shift down much quicker. But I think you'll lose a little bit in the corners, personally. So yeah, with that all being said, this is ready to go now. Ready to stick out there on tracks such as I think Long Beach, it was quite a good round. Road Atlanta Short, it was quite a good round, and any of the Lime Rock tracks is well suited to those. I tuned it quite a lot around Lime Rock, but my personal favourite for it was, as I first said, Long Beach. I love driving this thing around Long Beach. You can really be aggressive with it. You can stick it into the corners, you get as close to as you like as the walls. It's really, really fun to drive around that track. I wouldn't, however, recommend it, as I've said before, around any power tracks. Don't stick this around like Road America Full. Don't put it around Silverstone. None of those tracks. You will get eaten alive. It just does not have the power. It will handle brilliantly, but as I say, it does not have the power. It cannot really compete with anything that is even slightly more powerful than this, because my Trans Am, for example, would eat this alive just on power, and my Trans Am handles probably equally as well as this as well. So with all that being said, short tracks, have fun with it, and yeah, and if you've got any more suggestions, anyone wants me to tune anything else in A-Class, by all means, drop me a comment on my YouTube, drop me a comment on any of my videos, I'll get to it, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you very much for watching, much appreciated. Please do like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.